The Severin sale has shipped successfully. We have an order here. It's a large box. I did what everyone did, which was spend far too much money. Lockjaw is here. Number 6 from the episode of The Prisoner where he runs for office is here. But more importantly, I am here with a knife. The sale was a mixture of new releases and deep discounts. So I thought I'd talk about the few new releases that I went ahead and picked up. I didn't get everything. One of the ones that I did make sure that I got was Mummy and the Curse of the Jackals. This cover is not necessarily indicative of the action that we're going to see, but it does have sort of a shot on location Vegas, low budget, sort of sleaze kind of quotient, which I am very much into. So, you know, someone lumbering around the streets of Vegas dressed like a mummy, and I'm really high hopes for the enjoyment factor on this one. I was drawn deeply to the violence of what I saw in 2020 Texas Gladiators, specifically a part in the trailer that went up where a piece of glass is used in a way that I was not expecting. The inside art as a 4K. I went on a run last year of sort of absorbing as many Italian, gory, post-apocalyptic movies as I could. I didn't actually come across this one. This was not in the streaming options available to me, so I'm very excited about this. And I think this is a good time. This is kind of what I expect from Severin. Severin, oftentimes, their price points are just more than what I can absorb in terms of collecting a lot of things. It's what made this sale such an appealing offer. I think it's important to support a label that is going to take material that would be deemed questionable, right? Too violent, too obscure, and give it the respect of in place of film history. So I really want to support that. I want to support taking lower budget things or exploitation things and giving it the restoration treatment and the 4K treatment if it's possible and reasonable. Not everything has to be a 4K. So happy to support those things. Speak of Don't Change Hands, which the selling point for me was, hey, this is noir tinged story that is like a gender swap version of hardcore. It's going to have unsimulated sex, but it's really just a detective story at heart. I'm excited to see how that plays out and how that balances. I think this is great inner art. So those are all the new pieces that I picked up. I skipped out on Opera, feeling like that would be around for a long time. It's unfortunate that they experienced technical issues with the Opera discs. Perhaps I'll pick that up later, but I'm very happy with these new releases at this time. This is going to be the harder element. This is a large stack of pieces that I picked up on deep discount. Some of these were picked up because they were ones that I had wanted and now they were affordable, and some of these were ones that were so cheap I couldn't afford not to take a chance on them, and some of these I don't know what I was thinking. Mardi Gras Massacre. I'd seen clips here and there. What sold me on this was the utter sort of debauchery of it all, and this is the sort of thing that I have come to expect from Severin, presenting titles that maybe even have an element of poor taste to them. Films that there is a taste question even in the making of them. But I think having those as relics of a time period in filmmaking is fascinating and potentially even enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to having some time with this film and assessing it for myself. Castle of Creeping Flesh. I don't remember buying this. Because I literally just got this out of the box, and I'm wondering. Well, that looks more familiar. Is this okay? Comes a rarely seen hero slaves masterpiece. We're gonna read this together, shall we? A group of bourgeoisie swingers stumbles upon. Yes. Okay. So this, I didn't recognize this art at all. The reason I recognize this, I had streamed this, and this was wildly masochistic. The female lead gets sucked up into some really wild haunted house tortures, and her response to it is to kind of lean into it and find great pleasure in the sadism of it all. Brides of Blood. So Brides of Blood is part of that early Philippines run of films. Terror is a Man, Brides of Blood, The Blood Drinkers. There was a box set that Severin had released a while ago that I missed out on, so I ended up picking up most of these films as single. When I saw that this was on sale, I went to my Letterboxd account where I keep like an inventory list, and Brides of Blood wasn't on it. So I was like, oh, well then, even though I, honestly, looking at the stills and reading it, I was like, this seems like I've seen this, but a lot of these films are very much alike, and they star the same cast members typically. So I thought, oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. You must be wrong. No, I was totally right. I definitely own a copy of this. I have now purchased a second copy of Brides of Blood. So someone is going to get gifted a copy of Brides of Blood. Speaking of titles that I have seen before, Bloody Pit of Horror had a Riff Tracks release years ago before this was restored, over the top, Italian, actually maybe a Spanish Italian, no, Italian. Like, what if the Scooby-Doo gang was slowly picked off by a madman who thought he was an ancient religious executioner? Everyone should watch it at least once, if not own it. Raiders of Atlantis. Honestly, I wouldn't have bought this, except for the fact that it's streaming on Amazon. Whichever company licensed it to Amazon, licensed it with commentary track playing faintly in the background. It sounds like someone is like whispering behind you vague things about the film while you're watching the film. Totally unwatchable. Speaking of Robo War, I have no memory of this. I have no memory of purchasing this. I definitely purchased it. I mean, I see Bruno Mattei. I see, so it's, I liked Shocking Dark. Well, I watched Shocking Dark. It's got Reb Brown. Invaders of the Lost Gold. Yep, Laurie Gemser. There we are. Maybe that's why I picked it up. Otherwise, I was sort of on a kick of Indiana Jones knockoffs. So that may be why I picked this up. We'll check it out. The final two things I picked up because I thought they were really interesting ideas that I would not have purchased otherwise were a pair of photo comics. Okay, The Strange Vice of Madame Ward. This is The Horrors of Spider Island, which I think was originally a German release. This I first saw on MST3K. The sheer novelty of then having a photo comic of this. Let's see if we can get to the spider, the menacing spider. It shows up briefly because most of the horrors of Spider Island seem to be heat that causes the women to dress scantily and slap each other around, and then occasionally he'll show up and menace them. But then jealousy, I would say jealousy tends to be the main horror of Spider Island. This might be one of the highlights of the whole package. This is a ton of material. In many ways, I think it was the band-aid to get me to stop indulging in crazy sales, because there have been multiple sales since then that I have completely skipped. So I'm happy to say that. I'm happy if this is the last giant sales haul that I do. I'm pretty happy with it, and it'll carry me for a long time. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all later.